Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the fascinating currents of history, art, and human endeavor.
Great to be here.
Today, we're not just looking at old buildings, we're stepping into a time machine, really, witnessing a revolution etched in stone. We're talking about Gothic architecture. Not merely a style, but a profound movement that dramatically changed the skyline of medieval Europe, pushing the very limits of what was thought possible.
Absolutely. It was transformative.
So I have to ask you, our listener, right from the start, what drove humanity to reach ever higher toward the heavens, carving stone like poetry?
That's the core question, isn't it?
And what did this relentless pursuit achieve, leaving us with structures that still inspire awe centuries later?
That is a compelling question, and it encapsulates the very essence of our deep dive today. We're going to explore how a unique and powerful convergence of societal aspirations, profound religious devotion, and groundbreaking engineering genius fundamentally reshaped not just how we build, but how we perceive the divine. We'll trace its surprising origins, delve into its defining features, and uncover its lasting impact, helping us understand not just what Gothic architecture is, but why it continues to resonate so deeply.
So let's set the stage, because Gothic architecture didn't just appear out of nowhere. It emerged from a truly dynamic period in European history, roughly the 12th and 13th centuries, a time that historians often describe as an awakening.
A real period of ferment, yeah.
And this wasn't just one kind of awakening. It was intellectual, theological, political, economic, and technical, all happening at once. Imagine a society suddenly buzzing with new ideas, new ways of thinking about faith, evolving political structures, and a burgeoning economy.
It's fascinating how all these threads were so tightly interwoven. We saw a significant trend of urbanization throughout Europe during this period.
Right, people moving to cities.
Exactly. Positive economic development was increasingly concentrated in cities, effectively pulling trade and prosperity away from rural areas. This led to a large-scale migration, a kind of landflucht, you could say, of rural populations into these burgeoning urban centers.
Okay.
And with this rapid growth, these cities gained both the financial muscle and the pressing need for new, grand civic and religious structures. That demand alone for bigger and better buildings fueled an enormous amount of the Gothic construction we'll discuss.
And the church, of course, was undeniably at the heart of this architectural revolution, wasn't it?
Absolutely central.
These massive church buildings weren't just places of worship. They were powerful, tangible demonstrations of authority for both rulers and clergy kings, bishops, powerful chapters.
Symbols of power, for sure.
The growing influence of monastic orders, like the Cistercians, and even competing lay movements, such as the Cathars, truly intensified this desire for impressive church buildings. It was almost an architectural arms race in stone.
It really was. And cities, in their newfound strength and autonomy, also embarked on constructing what were known as buildings of power right in their centers. Town halls, guild halls, things like that.
Right, civic pride.
This created an incredibly vibrant and often fiercely competitive environment. Patrons, whether they were the monarchically oriented nobility, the king, powerful bishops, chapters, or wealthy cities themselves, all sought to outdo each other.
Keeping up with the Joneses' medieval style.
Sort of. This wasn't just about prestige, though that was certainly a factor. It was also driven by a genuine, pious enthusiasm to honor God and demonstrate their devotion.
The Gothic didn't arrive fully formed. It really built upon Romanesque foundations.
No, it evolved, definitely.
It evolved directly from the Romanesque style, taking its technically advanced construction methods and the incredible skill of its craftsmen and pushing them further. Elements that we now think of as quintessentially Gothic, like rib vaults, pointed arches, and buttresses, were already known and increasingly used in Romanesque structures to achieve greater height and light.
This gradual evolution is crucial because it shows that architectural innovation is rarely a sudden leap, but often a methodical progression, a continuous refinement of engineering principles.
Building on what came before?
Precisely. Early examples of pointed ribs, for instance, were found in Norman basilicas like Durham Cathedral in England as early as 1093, decades before they became a defining feature of the fully developed Gothic style on the continent. It's a testament to the slow, iterative process of discovery.
Now here's a fun linguistic twist that highlights how much our understanding of art can be shaped by the names we give it. What we call Gothic today wasn't always its name.
Not at all. The name came much later.
This new French-developed style and building technique was originally known as Opus Franciginum, meaning French work around 1280,
Yeah.
or sometimes simply the pointed arch style, recognizing its exciting feature. So where did Gothic come from?
Well, the term Gothic, derived from the Italian gotico, meaning foreign or barbaric, was actually coined much later during the Renaissance.
Barbaric. Really?
Yes, by Giorgio Vasari, the famous Italian art theorist. He used it as a derogatory slur. He intended to associate the style with the barbaric Germanic Goths, essentially dismissing it as inferior to the classical ideals he revered.
Talk about a branding problem. But that negative connotation didn't stick forever, right? It made a powerful comeback.
Not at all. By the 19th century, particularly after Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's influential 1773 text on German architecture, the term shed its negative baggage.
Okay.
Goethe mistakenly championed it as a German style, which, despite its historical inaccuracy, led to a profound positive reevaluation. For a time in Germany, it even became a powerful symbol of national pride.
Wow.
It's a fascinating example of how cultural perception of art can shift dramatically over centuries. We should also acknowledge Christopher Wren's earlier alternative theory. He thought the style was Arabic, Saracenic, or Moresque, maybe brought to Europe by Crusaders or via Muslim Spain.
Interesting. So lots of debate about its origins.
Definitely highlights the lively historical debate and diverse influences around its origin.
But beyond the names and the shifting perceptions, there were deep theological and philosophical underpinnings to Gothic architecture. These churches were understood as built parts of the liturgy.
Physical representations.
Physical representations pointing towards the New Jerusalem. Abbot Suger, the visionary initiator of Saint Denis, famously envisioned his abbey church as a new Temple of Solomon.
This raises an important question. What truly motivated such grand designs beyond mere earthly power? The answer lies in what was often described as built metaphysics.
Built metaphysics. Explain that.
As Durandus of Mende, a medieval bishop, wrote, everything belonging to ecclesiastical services, things, and ornaments is full of divine signs and mysteries. The aim was for these churches to be perfect, beautiful, harmonious, and clear unities, just like the cosmos itself.
Like a microcosm of heaven.
Exactly. This was achieved through meticulous attention to light, geometry, proportions, material, and color.
And the most crucial shift in achieving this built metaphysics was the revolutionary use of light. Romanesque churches often had massive walls and small windows.
Very heavy, dark interiors often.
Creating a very enclosed, almost fortress-like feel. Gothic architecture progressively dissolved those massive walls, replacing solid masonry with vast glass windows that from the inside appeared as shimmering glass walls.
And this wasn't just a design choice, it became a fundamental element. The goal was to flood the entire church with sunlight, the light of God, transforming the structure into a literal spiritual experience.
Wow.
This revolutionary light architecture was truly perfected in France, from Saint-Denis to Chartres and the Sainte-Chapelle in Paris.
And this all began in a very specific place, the Ile-de-France, the region surrounding Paris, around 1140.
Yes, the heartland.
It was a true revolution in stone. And the undisputed birthplace, what many consider the first Gothic church, is the former Abbey Church of Saint-Denis.
Saint-Denis under Abbot Suger, a key figure.
Under the visionary Abbot Suger, a new west facade with twin towers was built between 1137 and 1140.
Suger, driven by his theological vision, then initiated the ambulatory choir from 1140 onwards with its ring of chapels, buttresses, and rib vaults. He consciously sought to unify all these architectural elements into a coherent, luminous space, a tangible manifestation of divine light.
So he was really thinking about the effect of the architecture.
Absolutely. It was a groundbreaking moment where structure and spirituality intertwined.
And the development was incredibly rapid across France after that. The construction of Sens Cathedral, starting in 1135, marked the swift expansion of early Gothic principles.
It spread like wildfire, relatively speaking.
Other impressive examples quickly followed. The cathedrals of Senlis from 1153, Lyon from 1155, Noyon from 1157, and as a true highlight, Notre Dame de Paris from 1163.
Each major construction wasn't just a copy. It built upon the achievements of its predecessors, accelerating the style's evolution. This continuous competitive innovation is a key theme of the era.
Learning from each other, pushing the envelope.
Exactly. The classical Gothic style then began to emerge in France with Chartres from 1194 and Bourges from 1195. And the more refined High Gothic, with its mature tracery, started in the second decade of the 13th century, exemplified by masterpieces like Rheims from 1211 and Amiens from 1218.
It's like watching a blueprint get perfected with each new iteration, each building pushing the boundaries set by the last.
Precisely, a constant refinement.
Okay, let's unpack one of the central structural innovations. The pointed arch. It's more than just a different shape, right? It was a structural revelation, a game
Right,
changer
a total game
that
changer.
unlocked completely new possibilities for height and light.
It truly was a masterstroke of engineering. The pointed arch is structurally superior to the round arch because it more closely approximates the optimal force distribution of a parabola.
Like pressing your hands together in prayer.
That's a good analogy. It naturally directs force downwards more efficiently than a wide, rounded arch. This allowed for much greater stability, immense height, and incredible flexibility in spanning different widths. This was crucial for creating those soaring interior spaces.
And its presence is ubiquitous throughout Gothic structures, appearing consistently in vaults, window and portal frames, and tracery.
It defines the style, really. While we see variations, such as the late Gothic OG arch, that S shape, which sometimes needed iron anchors to defy pure vault statics,
Right.
the pointed arch remains the signature of the style.
And hand in hand with the pointed arch were the ribbed vaults.
Yes, the Kreuzrippengewölbe.
Unlike earlier Romanesque groinvault, these Gothic ribbed vaults featured structural ribs along the diagonals.
These ribs collected the thrust and transferred it precisely to the supporting pillars, allowing for thinner, lighter vault shells in between. It sounds like a simple change, but it was revolutionary.
That's weight up top.
Exactly, which allowed them to go higher.
It certainly provided incredible flexibility and innovation. The ribs enabled the construction of vaults over rectangular floor plans, not just the square ones common in Romanesque groin vaults.
Much more versatile.
This also facilitated the creation of increasingly complex and decorative vault forms, like the intricate net vaults we see in later periods.
In Netzebel Bay. Yeah. They got incredibly ornate.
And it's worth noting that the earliest ribbed vaults actually originated in Norman architecture, with Durham Cathedral in England from 1093, notably featuring pointed ribs in its nave decades before other English cathedrals adopted vaulted ceilings.
Right. Durham is a fascinating early example. It shows the idea was percolating.
What's also fascinating and sometimes overlooked is that despite the prominence of masonry vaults, many Gothic churches and halls, especially in England, Flanders, and the Prussian Orderlands, were built with wooden ceilings.
That's true. Sometimes these were even elaborately shaped as barrel vaults, showing that even with all this stone innovation, practical and often beautiful alternatives were still very much in play, depending on resources and local traditions. Timber framing was huge in England.
Okay, so this leads us directly to the external support system, the buttresses and flying buttresses.
The Strebwork. Essential.
Having seen how the rib
Precisely. And the stability of those buttresses was often increased by adding masonry weights on top, which were then sculpted into decorative elements like pinnacles or phelan. It truly turned a structural necessity into an artistic opportunity.
form-following function, but beautifully.
Yes. And the system ingeniously incorporated channels for rainwater and meltwater, which was then shot clear of the building via waterspouts or Wasserspire.
Often carved as those grotesque figures we call gargoyles.
Exactly, protecting the walls and foundations from water damage. While initially purely functional, this external support system, the Strebwork, evolved into a prominent and visually emphasized architectural element, becoming a defining feature of the Gothic exterior, both practical and sometimes terrifyingly beautiful.
What's fascinating is how these structural innovations allowed for the dissolution of the wall, the Auflös in their wand.
That's the key aesthetic shift. Imagine Romanesque structures defined by their thick, fortress-like walls. Gothic architects, thanks to pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and external buttressing, achieved a drastic reduction in wall thickness. This allowed for an extensive penetration of walls by truly enormous windows.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Imagine the feeling of walls just melting away, transforming stone into light.
It's a powerful image. Inside, the structural function of load-bearing elements was deliberately downplayed to create an illusion of lightness and weightlessness. It was a conscious artistic decision to make the heavy stone appear ethereal.
How did they do that?
Well, the introduction of the triforium helped. That's a gallery or passage carved into the wall above the arcades. It created an inner and outer wall shell, a double shell construction. While seen in Norman basilicas, it was taken to new heights in Gothic.
The sort of visual trick.
A sophisticated one. And in High Gothic, they reached a peak where even the back wall of the triforium was pierced by windows, making the entire wall appear almost completely transparent. You see this first at Saint-Denis from 1231 and in Amiens.
Wow, walls of glass.
Almost. But this transparency wasn't just about light, it was about the quality of the light, thanks to stained glass. These vast, multicolored windows became the primary artistic and theological element.
The mystical Bible in color.
Exactly. The sunlight, seen as the light of God, flooded the interiors, transforming the space into built metaphysics, a literal manifestation of the divine. This isn't just about brightness, it's about color.
And we have to remember, these weren't originally the bare stone we often see today.
Absolutely not. That's a huge misconception. Medieval churches, both inside and out, were originally vibrantly painted, a practice known as polychromy. Walls were adorned with frescoes, and architectural elements were clearly delineated with color. A 13th century Parisian edict even mandated polychrome decoration for stone figures.
So imagine walking into Chartres for the first time in the 12th century.
The sheer scale, the soaring height, the overwhelming luminous flood of colored light filtering through scenes from scripture and saints' lives. This was an entirely new, almost otherworldly sensory and spiritual experience. It communicated directly, visually, to an often illiterate populace.
It must have been breathtaking. We often forget this original vibrancy.
We do. Our modern aesthetics, often preferring aesthetic white and gray interiors inherited from 19th century whitewashing, can make it hard to visualize. But rare survivors like the Sainte-Chapelle in Paris, with its intense original medieval color scheme, offer a glimpse into that full polychrome splendor.
Like stepping back in time.
Truly. We must also remember that medieval churches were lavishly furnished with altars, canopies, candelabra, and lamps made from gold, silver, ivory, enamel, and precious stones, much of which is now lost or housed in museums. The original stained glass, too, much was lost or replaced.
So the experience was even richer than we can easily imagine today.
Far richer, more colorful, more glittering.
And this ambition wasn't just about making spaces light. It was about making them dramatically tall. The emphasis on verticality, the Betonung der Vertikalen, is a hallmark of Gothic.
Undeniably. Compare the vault heights. Romanesque spire cathedral's vault height was around 33 meters.
Which is impressive in itself.
It is, but Gothic cathedrals soared. Cologne reached 45 meters, and Beauvais, despite its tragic collapses, pushed to an astonishing 48.5 meters.
Nearly 50 meters high inside. That's incredible.
This represents a massive proportional shift. The height-to-width ratios dramatically increased. Reims Cathedral, for instance, has a ratio of 1.3, and Amiens Cathedral an even more extreme 1.3.3. This was a substantial leap from Romanesque proportions, like Hildesheim St. Michael at 1.1.9 or Speyer at 1.2.5, which are much broader.
It really shows that relentless drive towards heaven, a literal striving to reach higher, closer to God.
Absolutely, though it's important to note an English exception.
Ah, yes, the English approach.
While continental Gothic prioritized this dramatic verticality, English cathedral Gothic often emphasized extreme length in relation to width instead. Think of Winchester or St. Albans. They preferred a different kind of horizontal grandeur, foregoing the dramatic, soaring verticality.
Interesting variation. Let's look inside again at the pillars and capitals.
The Pfeiler and Kapitell. They underwent their own evolution, too. Romanesque architecture followed the ancient support and load principle, with round arched arcades carried by columns, often with richly decorated block-based capitals.
Familiar classical forms.
Right, but Gothic replaced these classical columns with slender, structured round pillars, often surrounded by D&D or attached shafts. Early Gothic bud capitals, Nusping Kapitell, were chalice-shaped and adorned primarily with plant motifs, a nod to the natural world.
More organic looking.
Yes. As more shafts or services were added to support the ribs coming down from the vault, the bundled pillar, the Bundelpfeiler, developed. This gradually diminished the capital until, in late Gothic, the forms merged, and the capital as a distinct architectural element virtually disappeared.
So the lines just flowed straight up.
Exactly.
Yep.
It marked a complete break from antique building principles, allowing for an uninterrupted vertical flow that further enhanced the sense of height and weightlessness.
Finally, we can't talk about Gothic without mentioning tracery, the mosswork, and other decorative elements.
Stone turned into lace, essentially.
The invention of tracery, which first appeared around 121-520 at Reims Cathedral, is sometimes called the birth of true Gothic.
It's a quintessential ornamental feature of high and late Gothic. These geometric patterns of circles and arches, executed in stone or brick, used in window fields, balustrades, and even wall surfaces. They truly transformed the aesthetic.
And those huge rose windows.
The Rosettenfenster, yes. In Gothic architecture, they could span the entire width of a facade, becoming monumental expressions of light and pattern. In late Gothic, more intricate, curvilinear patterns emerged, such as the fish bladder and flame motifs characteristic of the flamboyant style.
Very complex
They're
geometry.
incredibly complex. Many Gothic ornaments, too, derive directly from the plant world, with oak leaves playing a significant role. And to crown it all, gables and tower tops were often adorned with decorative finials, krossblumen, and pinnacles, filen, all contributing to this sense of upward striving and intricate detail.
These innovations didn't just stay on the drawing board. They found their ultimate expression in some of the most iconic cathedrals the world has ever seen. The grand French cathedrals, in particular, became models for an entire age.
They set the standard.
Chartres Cathedral, for instance, begun in 1194, is often seen as the model for the classical French cathedral. It's a true triumph of engineering and artistry.
Absolutely. Its triple-aisled basilica, ambulatory choir, that three-story wall elevation, it's all there.
And let's not forget its distinctive double-tower facade, with portals dating back to around 1150. But the rose window and left tower from 1194, all adorned with those intricate tracery windows, setting a benchmark for others to follow.
Chartres really solidified the Gothic blueprint. Then there's Notre Dame de Paris, from 1163, a significant early Gothic example, originally five-aisled.
So iconic.
Its double-tower facade, built between 1190 and 1250, is a marvel of architectural symbolism. What's particularly striking is its survival through time, from narrowly escaping destruction during the French Revolution.
Right, when the statues were damaged.
Yes, decapitated. And then, of course, its dramatic near loss and the devastating fire of 2019. The rapid outpouring of global support to rebuild it speaks volumes about its enduring symbolic power.
A true legend. Then Reims Cathedral, begun in 1211, marked the true beginning of High Gothic with the introduction of tracery.
Reims is key for High Gothic. It was originally intended to have 7 towers, but tragically, its crossing tower was lost in 1481. Its double ambulatory was ingeniously designed to accommodate the grand coronation ceremonies of French kings, making it a true testament to its regal purpose and a stage for centuries of French history.
A coronation church.
Exactly. And Amiens Cathedral from 1218 is another masterpiece of the High Gothic Romanesque style. It set new standards with its impressive nave height of 42.30 meters and its pioneering through-window triforium, a feature introduced around 1230, which made the wall appear almost completely transparent, further enhancing that ethereal quality.
Pushing the limits again.
Always pushing. But the pursuit of height and light had its risks. Beauvais Cathedral, begun in 1247, represents the pinnacle of Gothic gigantism.
The one that went too far.
You could say that. Its choirs soared to an astounding 46 meters, surpassing even Amiens, an audacious feat. But this ambition came at a cost. It tragically suffered partial collapses in 1287, and its 150-meter central tower collapsed in 1569 during a celebratory procession. It remains incomplete to this day, a powerful and humbling testament to the ambition and the inherent risks of pushing architectural limits without modern engineering knowledge. A cautionary tale, perhaps.
A dramatic story. Moving beyond France, Gothic architecture found diverse expressions across Europe, leading to fascinating regional adaptations and masterpieces. England, for instance.
England developed its own distinct path. We see 3 main styles. The early English period, from about 1175 to 1260, was more austere visually, with extensive use of rib vaults.
Less ornate.
Generally, yes. And it had a distinct emphasis on extreme length. Cathedrals like St. Albans and Winchester reached around 170 meters, preferring a long processional space over dramatic verticality. Canterbury Cathedral's choir, built between 1175 and 1184 by William of Sens, a Frenchman, ironically is often cited as the first truly English Gothic structure.
Then came the decorated style, from 1250 to 1370.
Much more ornamental, as the name suggests. Walls were often covered in tracery, and vault ribs formed richer, more complex patterns like star and net vaults. The pointed arch even began to evolve into the ogee arch. Westminster Abbey is a prime example.
And you mentioned Ely Cathedral earlier.
Ely's Crossing Octagon. Built between 1321 and 1353, it replaced a collapsed central tower with this magnificent light-filled timber lantern. A truly unique, innovative solution that defied convention. Absolutely stunning.
A wooden marvel within a stone church.
Precisely. Finally, the perpendicular style, from around 1330 to 1560, distinguished itself with a clear, geometric approach, strongly emphasizing vertical lines.
Very linear.
Very. Windows became incredibly wide, sometimes covering entire east walls, and the flat Tudor arch developed to accommodate these new dimensions. This period also saw the emergence of the unique fan vault Fächerbilby, a breathtakingly intricate form where the ribs spread out like a fan.
Like a King's College chapel.
Exactly. King's College Chapel in Cambridge, Gloucester Cathedral, incredible examples. This distinct English style even continued well beyond the Middle Ages, with elements still being built in the early 17th century, long after other parts of Europe had embraced the Renaissance.
So Gothic lingered longer in England. What about Germany?
Germany also embraced Gothic, but with its own unique interpretations. Magdeburg Cathedral, begun between 1207 and 1215, was the first grand, purely Gothic conceived structure in Germany.
The first big one.
Right. Its oldest parts show clear influences from early and classical French Gothic ambulatory choir, three-story elevation. But interestingly, some sections like the nave were built without external flying buttresses, showcasing a local adaptation.
Other early German examples.
Other early purely Gothic churches on German soil include the Liebfrauenkirche in Trier from around 1230, a central planned church, and the Elisabethkirche in Marburg from 1235, which is a hall church. Both demonstrated the aesthetic of French Round Gothic, but often without triforia.
In Freiburg Minster.
Freiburg, begun around 1230. An early masterpiece, and its 116-meter-high west tower, with its distinctive pierced spire, was famously completed in the Middle Ages and became a model for later tower designs across the region, a real landmark.
Then came the colossal Cologne Cathedral, begun in 1248.
Cologne, an epic project. This was a direct attempt to surpass Amiens, conceived in the style of French High Gothic with a five-aisled plan and enormous dimensions. Its construction was a centuries-long saga.
It took forever to finish.
It did. Though incomplete for centuries, a new wave of national romanticism in the 19th century led to its dramatic completion based on original medieval plans. It became one of the world's tallest churches, with its 157-meter twin towers, a testament to enduring ambition and national pride.
And Ulminster, even taller.
Even taller. Begun in 1377, its main spire, also completed in the 19th century, stands as the world's tallest church tower at an astounding 161.53 meters.
Incredible height. Germany also had a particular affinity for hall churches, the Hallenkirchen.
Yes, like the Elisabethkirche in Marburg and the Frauenkirche in Munich. In these, all aisles are of equal height.
What's the advantage of that?
It dramatically reduces the need for extensive external buttressing because the outward thrust is much less pronounced. It creates a spacious, unified interior volume. The Munich Frauenkirche, with a 37-meter vault height, and the Marienkirche in Danzig, now Gdańsk, at 29 meters, are notable examples.
And brick, Gothic, Backstein Gothic.
Crucial in regions where natural stone was scarce, like northern Germany, the Baltic region, Poland. The Lübeck Marienkirche, rebuilt from 1315, became an influential model for countless churches across northern and northeastern Europe, cleverly adapting classical cathedral Gothic to brick as a primary material.
So what does this all mean for Italy, a land so deeply connected to ancient Roman forms? Did they embrace Gothic?
Yes, but differently. Italian Gothic is distinct. It often lacks the dramatic height, the vast tracery windows, the open buttressing systems, and the twin tower facades we associate with French cathedrals.
What characterized it then?
It favored clear straight lines, large wall surfaces, often perfect for fresco painting, and lower, wider interior spaces. Exteriors, typically of marble and brick, were generally restrained except for the facade, which would be quite elaborate.
Who drove it there?
The Cistercians first imported Gothic forms, but it was the Franciscan and Dominican mendicant orders who truly initiated Italian Gothic with structures like the Upper Basilica of San Francesco in Assisi. Their churches prioritize function and extensive fresco cycles over elaborate sculpture, making the interior a canvas for visual storytelling.
Assisi, right. Famous for its frescoes.
Exactly. Siena Cathedral from the early 13th century is a Romanesque cathedral that was Gothicized, notably featuring Giovanni Pisano's three-portal west facade from 1284, which hints at French influence.
But Milan Cathedral is different.
Milan is the big exception. Begun in 1387, it's a massive 157-meter-long, five-aisled structure strongly influenced by Central European Gothic. Its construction saw bitter controversies, as local builders fiercely resisted what they saw as un-Italian Gothic forms. Master builders like Heinrich Parler actually left the project amidst disputes over German versus Italian design principles.
Architectural arguments.
Yeah.
And Gothic was used in civic buildings in Italy, too.
Extensively. Siena's Palazzo Pubblico, built between 1297 and 1310, and Venice's Doge's Palace from 1340, which displays clear Oriental and Byzantine influences due to Venice's extensive trade connections.
Over in Spain and Portugal, what was the story?
Well, the early cathedrals of Burgos, Toledo, and Lyon initially closely followed French Gothic models. They often even employed North French master builders to get that authentic style.
But then it evolved.
Yes, from around 1300, a distinct Spanish Gothic developed. Barcelona Cathedral from 1298 and Santa Maria del Mar from 1329 feature naves approaching the hall church form with austere, fortress-like exteriors typical of Aragonese Catalan Gothic. Girona Cathedral from 1417 even boasts the widest Gothic vault at 23 meters.
Wow. And Seville.
Seville Cathedral, begun in 1401 on the site of a mosque, became the largest Gothic church in the world. It deliberately incorporated the mosque's minaret, the Giralda, as its bell tower, a powerful symbol of Christian triumph and a continuity of sacred space. Its five-aisled interior also approximates a hall church.
And the Mudéjar style.
Ah, yes. In regions like Aragon and Old Castile, Muslim artisans blended Gothic elements with Islamic traditions, creating the unique Mudéjar Gothic style. A beautiful cultural fusion, really. Portuguese Gothic, seen in masterpieces like the unfinished Batalha Monastery from 1388, also produced breathtaking structures, with Manuline architecture marking its conclusion, a distinctly Portuguese flourish, less influenced by Moorish styles than Spanish Gothic.
Gothic stretched further east, too, showcasing its adaptability.
It really did. In Bohemia, Prague's St. Vitus Cathedral, begun in 1344 under Charles IV, and the St. Barbara Cathedral in Cluj-Napoca are pinnacles of Bohemian Gothic, heavily influenced by the famous Parlor family of architects.
The parlors again? They were everywhere.
They certainly got around. Poland was dominated by brick Gothic, often with Cistercian influences. Think of Krakow's Wall Cathedral or the Marienkirche in Gdańsk. The Baltic states saw large brick Gothic churches in former Hanseatic cities like Riga and Tallinn, showing North German influence, with Vilnius's St. Anne's Church standing out with its incredibly flamboyant brick facade.
And those fortified churches in Transylvania.
Unique indeed. In what is now Romania, you find distinctive fortified churches, or Kirchenbergen church castles, like the Black Church in Braiov and the fortified church in Birten. This globally unique ensemble of Gothic, defensive, and sacred architecture, where churches were built with formidable walls and towers to protect communities from invasions, offers a window into a different regional adaptation shaped by necessity.
Fascinating. Even the Crusader states.
Yes. The Crusaders introduced early Gothic forms, visible in the choir of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, and in former cathedrals in places like Byblos, now mosques, and in Cyprus like St. Nicholas in Famagusta. It shows how far this style truly traveled. Switzerland also has significant examples, such as Lausanne Cathedral from 1190, an important early Gothic structure outside France, plus Basel and Bernminsters.
Behind every soaring arch and intricate gargoyle lay the incredible ingenuity, dedication, and sometimes bitter rivalries of countless individuals. Let's talk about the human element, starting with the patrons, the Bauern, who commissioned these marvels.
Right, the people paying the bills and driving the vision. These weren't just wealthy individuals. The construction of a bishop's church, for instance, was typically initiated by the chapter, the Domkapitel, not necessarily the bishop himself. Abbey churches were started by abbots or abbesses and guided financially and conceptually by their patrons.
So, committees
Often, yes. Cities and their parish priests also agreed on organizing the construction of parish churches. These patrons were known by various titles: Kirchmeister, Procurators, Magister Fabrice, Magister Operis, or even Architectus.
What motivated them?
The motivations were complex. The new Gothic style was favored by the monarchy, the rising urban bourgeoisie, monarchically aligned nobility, and church chapters, all seeking to manifest their power and piety.
This predictably led to fierce conflicts and competition.
Oh, absolutely. Bishops and nobility used cathedrals to display their power, but rising city burghers also wanted to contribute pious donations. However, clergy and nobility often rejected these contributions, wanting sole credit for the glory.
Power struggles.
Definitely. This even led to civic uprisings. In response, citizens built Bürgerkirchen, citizen churches near cathedrals, often larger and grander, as their own direct power demonstration, embodying the growing clout of the urban populace.
Architectural one-upmanship between town and gown, almost.
You could see it that way. And there was opposition even to the very idea of this grand architecture. Threatened feudal nobility saw these cathedrals as manifestations of a new, hostile power structure centered in the cities and with the monarchy.
Who else opposed it?
Rural monastic orders, like the Cistercians initially, often preferred simpler, more ascetic designs. Later, the mendicant orders, like the Dominicans and the Franciscans, who often voiced the concerns of urban lower classes, could also be critical, feeling the vast expense could be better used elsewhere. Conflicts flared, as seen in Paris between cathedral clergy and university scholars from the mendicant orders like Thomas Aquinas and Bonaventura, debating the very nature of devotion and display.
So it wasn't universally popular. Then there were the master builders, the Baumeister or Werkmeister, the true medieval architects.
The geniuses on the ground. These were often brilliant individuals who rose from the ranks of stonemasons, the Steinmetz handwork. They were the visionaries who translated grand ideas into physical reality, collaborating closely with master stonemasons, Magister Lapicidae, master masons, Magister Camentari, and sculptors.
Sculptors.
How did they maintain continuity over such long projects?
That's a great question. Due to the extremely long construction times, often spanning centuries, master builders frequently changed on a single project. But the structured workshop system, the Bauhüttenwesen, ensured the transmission of knowledge and skills. It provided remarkable continuity across generations.
A system for passing on the plans and techniques.
Exactly. We know some names, figures like Master Gerhard of Cologne Cathedral, the Reuter dynasty at Regensburg, Wilhelm of Sens at Canterbury, Hugues Libergier at Saint-Nicaise in Reims, and Pierre de Monchoy at Notre-Dame de Paris were giants of their time. And the Parler family you mentioned.
Yes, the influential Parler family, Heinrich the Elder and his sons, Michael and Johann, worked on numerous cathedrals across Europe. Basel, Freiburg, Strasbourg, Prague, Kutna Hora. So widespread was their influence that the term polier, meaning foreman, actually comes from their name.
Wow, a family dynasty of builders.
Yeah.
And they left their marks.
Yes, as a personal touch, master masons often mark their work with distinct Steinmetzzeichen, or mason's marks, a kind of medieval signature. It's a poignant reminder of the immense skill and labor that went into these structures, the incredible dedication, technical genius, and immense physical sacrifice of countless masons, stone carvers, glassworkers, and other skilled laborers, toiling over generations, often anonymously, leaving their marks stone by stone.
And those gargoyles, just decoration or something more?
Well, the gargoyles we see today, while often viewed with a sense of mystery or even superstition, primarily served a practical purpose. They were functional rainwater spouts, the Wasserspire, carved into grotesque figures to direct water away from the building's walls and foundations.
So function came first.
Function first, but it also reflects the medieval worldview's integration of the fantastic and the symbolic into even the most practical elements of construction. The mundane could be imbued with meaning and even a touch of the terrifying or humorous.
Gothic architecture wasn't just for cathedrals, though. Its influence extended far beyond sacred spaces.
Absolutely. It transformed secular buildings across Europe, imbuing them with a new sense of grandeur. The defensive function of princely castles, for example, diminished in the late Middle Ages as warfare evolved with firearms and mercenary armies.
Less need for pure defense, more for show.
Exactly. The desire for representation, however, grew exponentially. This led to a fascinating transformation of the castle into the palace. Gothic castles increasingly incorporated residential features. They even adopted elements from sacred architecture, sometimes creating cloister-like courtyards.
So castles started looking more like churches inside.
In some ways, yes. Numerous halls and chambers were vaulted, outer walls were pierced by tracery-decorated windows, and richly adorned Gothic chapels were built within. The Marienburg, or Malbork of the Teutonic Order, for instance, is considered the largest Gothic secular building, a massive brick complex. Other late Gothic masterpieces include the Albrechtsberg in Meissen, the Vladislav Hall in Prague Castle, and the Ducal Palace in Poitiers.
And Venetian palaces.
A unique form of Gothic palace architecture developed in Venice, exemplified by the Doge's Palace and the Ca' d'Oro. These combined local materials like marble and brick with twisted columns and Oriental-influenced pointed arches, a beautiful reflection of Venice's extensive trade connections with the East, showcasing a truly globalized aesthetic for the time.
Civic power also found its expression in stone.
Definitely. With the rise of cities, fortifications became paramount. Many cities gained rights to build walls, defensive towers, and elaborate gatehouses like those still visible in Nuremberg or Carcassonne. As firearms became more common, tall defensive towers evolved into lower houses became complex gate castles, adapting to new military technologies.
And the town halls.
The Rathhäuser. They were often multi-purpose buildings for council meetings, banquets, and trade. Think of Lübeck from 1230 or Bruges from 1376. The increasing need for urban representation led to grander, more elaborate designs, like Brussels from 1402 or Leuven from 1439, sometimes earning them the title Cathedrals of the Bourgeoisie, a powerful symbol of civic pride and autonomy.
Like a secular cathedral.
In a way.
Yeah.
And particularly in Flanders and Italy, the belfry, often competing in height with church spires, powerfully symbolized urban power and autonomy. It was a watchtower and a bell tower signaling the city's self-governance.
What other kinds of public buildings?
Other communal structures included cloth and meat halls, like the huge one in Ypres from 1250, guild houses, Ghent has famous examples, dance and wedding halls, like the Gürzenich in Cologne from 1447, and granaries. Even schools and hospitals, often run by mendicant orders, were integrated into city monasteries, showing the pervasive influence of Gothic design on every aspect of urban life.
Even houses.
Yes, residential architecture too adopted Gothic elements. While half-timbered houses, Vorwerkhaus, were common in Western, Central, and Northern Europe, many cities in southern Germany, Austria, and Eastern Central Europe built houses from stone or brick. Arcaded walkways, Lobingen, often vaulted, served as covered market stalls and remain a characteristic feature of many Gothic towns today, like Landshut or Braunau.
Covered walkways, right?
And many colonial cities founded in Poland, Bohemia, and Moravia during this era even retained their Gothic layouts, often centered around large market squares or ringe.
And back to brick Gothic.
Yes, it represents a vital regional adaptation. In regions with scarce natural stone, Flanders, the Netherlands, northern Germany, Scandinavia, Poland, parts of Bavaria, southern France, Lombardy Gothic architecture was ingeniously adapted to brick backstein as the primary building material.
The North German style is famous.
It is, particularly grand structures like the Marienkirche in Lübeck from 1315 and others in Stralsund, Wismar, and Greifswald served as influential models across northern and northeastern Europe. Lübeck's Marienkirche even replicated the open buttressing system of Western cathedrals in brick, albeit in a simplified form showcasing incredible ingenuity with material.
Were there other brick Gothic styles?
Oh, yes. Bavaria developed its own brick Gothic, often with hall churches and rich stone embellishments like the Frauenkirche in Munich. Landshut boasts the world's tallest brick tower at St. Martin's Church. Southern France developed Gothic Toulousain, Toulouse Gothic, seen in Albi Cathedral and the Jacobins Convent in Toulouse. Lombardy in Italy also features significant brick Gothic. It shows just how adaptable the core principles were.
So the Gothic style didn't simply end abruptly with the Renaissance.
Not at all. It cast a long shadow. There's a fascinating phenomenon known as post-Gothic, or not Gothic, where the style continued to be built even into the Renaissance and Baroque periods. This created unique hybrid forms.
Where can we see that?
Good examples are the Cathedral of Orléans in France, begun reconstruction in 1601 largely in Gothic style after damage in the Wars of Religion, or the Church of Saint-Eustache in Paris, built between 1532 and 1649. It has a Gothic structure, but Renaissance and classical details layered onto it. A real mix.
Okay, let's unpack this. How did a style once deemed barbaric make such a powerful comeback centuries later? We're talking about the Gothic revival or Neo-Gothic.
Right. It started gaining traction in the 18th century with eccentric examples like Horace Walpole's Strawberry Hill House in England.
A fantasy castle.
Pretty much. Or Potsdam's Nauener Torgate in Germany. But it truly exploded in the 19th century, becoming a dominant architectural and artistic style of the historicism movement.
Why then? What drove the revival?
In Germany, particularly after the Napoleonic Wars, Gothic architecture became idealized. It was romanticized as the embodiment of an archetypically German, Urdeutsche Christian medieval world order.
A symbol of national identity.
Exactly. Goethe's influential writings, though historically inaccurate about its origins, and the dramatic completion of the Cologne Cathedral in the 19th century, a massive national project fueled this romantic view, mistakenly reinterpreting Gothic as a fundamentally German style.
And it influenced painting, too.
Very much so. In German Romantic painting, Gothic ruins, churches, and castles were incredibly popular motifs. Think of artists like Caspar David Friedrich or Carl Gustav Karus. Their paintings often evoke a sense of nostalgic grandeur, sublime decay, or spiritual longing associated with the Gothic past. Even neoclassical architects like Carl Friedrich Schinkel often depicted Gothic architecture in their idealized landscapes, recognizing its aesthetic power and beauty.
And this neo-Gothic style spread everywhere.
Globally. It was used for a vast array of new buildings, worldwide churches, obviously, but also parliaments, town halls, universities, post offices, schools, even train stations. What's particularly interesting is that it thrived even in places like North America, where medieval Gothic never existed.
So they didn't have the barbaric baggage there.
Exactly. It didn't carry the same stigma of falseness or barbarism that some European critics still occasionally applied. It was simply adopted as a beautiful, revered, and often morally upright style associated with Christian values and historical depth.
And this brings us back to the enduring captivation of Gothic architecture. Why does it still hold such power over us today?
It's a combination of things, isn't it? It's dramatic verticality, that sense of reaching.
Upwards, always upwards.
Yes. Then the ethereal quality of its light-filled spaces, the intricate detail in every stone, the sheer human ingenuity, effort, and ambition it represents. It speaks to something fundamental within us, a desire to create beauty, to innovate, and perhaps to reach for something beyond ourselves.
It feels both massive and light at the same time.
That's the genius of it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Gothic architecture represents a continuous striving, not just for physical height, but for new forms of structural expression and artistic mastery. This innovative spirit, this courage to push boundaries, resonates across centuries and still shapes our understanding of what's possible in design and engineering. It's a testament to communal will and artistic vision, a collective aspiration made tangible.
This deep dive into Gothic architecture has revealed it as an unparalleled testament to innovation, profound faith, and unwavering human ambition. These structures are more than just buildings. They are stories written in stone, reflecting a society's highest aspirations and deepest beliefs.
And it makes you think. This raises an important question for us today, perhaps. In our own modern age, what are the grand collective endeavors we undertake that similarly push the boundaries of what's possible? Not just technologically, but also in spirit and communal will.
What are our cathedrals?
In a sense, yes. And what enduring legacy will they leave behind for future generations? It's something to reflect on.
Next time you look up at a soaring spire, remember, the hands that carved it reached for heaven, but left their indelible mark on history.